And good afternoon, and welcome to the Office of the Prime Minister for this specially called press conference to update you on the events of the day here at the Office of the Prime Minister. Earlier today, multiple anonymous calls were made to the Office of the Prime Minister threatening the safety of Prime Minister Philip Davis. The matter was immediately referred to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and an investigation is underway. Prime Minister Davis has been appraised of the situation, and additional security measures have been put in place. While the threat against the Prime Minister is being taken seriously, it is a current assessment of the Prime Minister's security team and the Prime Minister that he should continue with his normal duties, and further assessments will be made once the investigation reveals further information. We'd also like to say that the staff here at the Office of the Prime Minister are all reported safe as well, and we want to thank them for continuing with the duties, important duties here at the Office of the Prime Minister. I'm going to invite Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez to further address this matter and take any questions you may have. Commissioner of Police.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Clinton. Good evening, Bahamas. You would have seen in the past 2 days on Wednesday evening on social media where a clip based on the protests downtown by Parliament, group of individuals, and there's a clip out there in social media and an individual who was shouting to assassinate the nation's leader, Mr. Philip Brave Davis. Acts like this will only take the temperature to another level. And you saw that played out today. Shortly after noon, this afternoon, 2 anonymous calls, believed to be male, called in and made death threat to the Prime Minister. Officers responded, and we are now have a full-scale investigation that is ongoing at this time. We are following some significant leads with respect to those. Both calls came in, one right after the other, about 15 minutes apart, threatening to kill the nation's leader. We as Bahamian, it shouldn't happen. When you're talking about threatening the nation's leader, and we are, as Bahamians, how we got to this level and threatening individuals. Not only you could go beyond the Prime Minister, but individuals, and we take this very serious. We are now viewing the threat level so that we could put some additional security measures in place along with our law enforcement partner, the team here from the Defense Force. So we are on top of this, and we ask individuals who are out there or who may have intention to do that or who will try to continue to do just that, to stop now. Because we will go at you with the full extent of the law. It's a no-no, and it shouldn't happen. Not the nation's leader or anybody else. And we take this serious, and we will be able to update you with more information as we progress with respect to the investigation. I spoke to the Prime Minister a few minutes ago. He's in good spirit. Prime Minister said he's in scared. But we have to ensure that he is safe. We cannot dilute security. We cannot dilute security. And we will ensure that not only the Prime Minister, but we have to ensure that the staff here, employees here, are safe. And by extension, the Bahamian people. It's a no-no.
Questions?
What is the level of concern following what happened outside of Parliament? And are you linking what happened outside of Parliament to the calls today? Do you feel as though these might be members associated with the Coalition of Independents?
We can't rule it out. That is a line of inquiry that we are following. We can't rule it out, not at this time.
With CARICOM fast approaching, what sort of additional security measures are going to be taken? Because it's not only going to be the Prime Minister, who is the chair of CARICOM, but we're going to have leaders from throughout the regional body. What sort of new security measures are going to be taken to ensure that everyone is safe?
Well, the team that is sitting in and making the assessment with CARICOM, that was always in place. But this now will only cause us to take it now even to a more higher level to ensure that everyone is safe.
What sort of action is going to be taken against the individual who was filmed in that clip, who would have, I guess, basically, in accordance with what you would have said, incited some sort of feelings or actions towards the Prime Minister? Any action to be taken from the police force as it relates to that individual?
Yes, that we're going to look at the laws, and wherever it fits, it will be thrown at him.
How do you investigate something like this with an anonymous call? Is it, phone tracing? What's involved with this kind of investigation?
Yes, that's number one. We are asking members of the public, those persons who may have information as to who the individuals is or who the individuals are, to assist us, and then we will follow through with technical equipments to try to identify the caller or where the call came from.
In your years on the police force, have you ever seen anything like this where threats of death have been made against the leader of the nation? And also, what does this speak to in terms of the type of climate that we are in right now, considering the intense protests that we've seen led by the Coalition of Independents?
Yes, we saw it happen a few times. And this is not the first time the Prime Minister has been threatened. Every other day I'm being threatened. I don't take it lightly. It just causes you to be more focused as you move about. You should. So we are continuing to remain focused and to do what we have to do.
Outside of asking for public assistance, what are some of the technical methods that will be used?
I won't go in depth with what we are doing, but we have our technical crew on the ground with a view of trying to identify where the calls come from. I will not wish to go in depth as to how far we will go with it.
Well, Commissioner, I note as well, you talked about the plan being in place to protect CARICOM leaders when they come here, but are there any concerns? Because there have also been reports of persons planning to protest when those leaders come as well. Is that factored into the security plan?
Yes,
That
that- Absolutely, that will be beefed up. We will remain focused with that as well.
We know that the Coalition of Independents is led by Lincoln Bain. He's no stranger to law enforcement officers. He's been taken into custody a few times. What is now going to be done, considering that a protest was led by the Coalition of Independents leader? 2 threats of death were made against the nation's leader. Do we now expect that the police force will call him in for a conversation? What sort of moves are going to be taken to ensure that this does not progress further?
Well, it was approved, a permit was approved for him to hold a peaceful protest down there. And at some point, I myself will invite him to my office to have a word with him, because he have to control his supporters.
You mentioned earlier in your remarks about the video that circulated on social media. Does this then mean too that you as the police will pay special attention to persons that have been posting? This is not the first time, as you mentioned, that we've seen a threat, but are we going to focus more on social media and these threats that we see popping up now?
Well, that's a part of our day-to-day investigation, to pay attention to social media and to act on certain things.
And is it only going to be, for example, in this instance, threats of death, or what kind of
No,
charges do we expect?
social media assists us with a number of investigation and cause us to arrest a number of individuals. So we pay attention. Social media is the devil, but at some point you have to pay attention, because you could find a lot of information is thrown out there that you could follow. You have to follow lines of inquiries. Either you reach a dead end or you could advance something from it.
Are you familiar with the news that another world leader would have gotten death threats today? And what's the level of concern from the police force that, like you said, is not typically a part of Bahamian culture? What's the level of concern from the force that something that's happening internationally is now happening on our shores?
Yes, it's a big concern. I'm not aware of the incident today, but it's a big concern. You saw it played out in Haiti, where the prime minister, the president, was assassinated. You saw that in recent time. And, we Bahamians are like copycats. God forbid. God forbid. But we need now to stop it.
What's the plan in terms of, I guess, increased police presence? We've seen saturation patrols. We've seen the road traffic department doing their thing. Now that the Prime Minister has had 2 threats of deaths made against him, are we going to see more roadblocks, increased police presence? What can the general civilian expect at this point?
But this is a continuation for us. It's not just because of this incident. If you saw in recent time, we having a number of road checks, a number of operations out there, and which have been yielding great success. But not because of this incident, but we look at the threat level and if it's high, we put extra security in place.
So that's my question. I know it's been there. We've seen it every night. Will it be increased now that these threats of death have been made against the Prime Minister?
It will continue.
And the persons responsible, once caught, would they only face threats of death charges, or would they face other charges? That was
Well,
my
we
question.
will view what is there and look at the laws, and we will throw the book at them.
Now, I know you spoke about increased security detail for the Prime Minister, but can you go into detail about what exactly does that entail? Will there be more security around his home and stuff like that?
I won't wish to go in detail with that, but we will look at the level, the threat level, and then we will place additional security.
So when I threat level would be listed as high?
Yes, the threat level is high based on the calls that came in. It's high, so we now have to take it to another level.
When we talk about increasing the security, are there any concerns when it comes to manpower about where these police will be getting pulled from or pulled away from that they're already working on?
No concern about manpower. We working closely with our law enforcement partner, the Defense Force, so it's a combined effort, and we will make it happen.
Can you tell us what was said on the calls? Is that information?
Not at this time. I don't wish to go into that.
I do have a question about the calls that came in. Obviously, you aren't able to determine the nationality of an individual based on a phone call, but I guess on the intelligence that you have available to you, we know that the protest that was held by COI is not the only thing that could have ignited these calls. We know that the Office of the Prime Minister announced this morning that, the shanty towns are also being addressed again. This is another issue that is, heightened emotions. Do we have any idea on what the possible nationality of the individuals behind these calls might be? Because it might not just be linked to the COI.
I can't say at this time.
But you are looking into the nationality of the individuals.
Yes, but all of that is a part of the investigation.
What would make you look into the nationality of individuals making threats of death against the Prime Minister?
Well, based on the temperature, what is out there now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, we want to thank all law enforcement agencies for their commitment to keeping all Bahamians safe, but particularly us here at the Office of the Prime Minister. I want to thank you, sir, and your team for the safety and security that you provide. We don't take this job for granted. We recognize in the role that we're in that every civil servant and Bahamian who's a part of the government does their job and hopes to come to work every day in safety and security. We thank you for allowing us to feel safe. That concludes our press briefing. Any further updates, the police will update you going forward. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.